um, there are a lot of dimensions to this because the overriding objective of most African leaders, and in particular the more independent ones now in Burkina Faso, Niger, and what's the other country now? I've forgotten. But that group in the Sahel and a number of others, they want economic development. So they're happy to do deals with China. They see that they pay off. They get roads, telecom systems, power plants, everything else. And I think Russia is doing some things like oil refineries and things like this in a couple of those countries too. So those things are going on. It doesn't make sense either for the African countries to say to the West, get lost. In a way they can't. Many of them were dominated by the French, who had, I think that more than 20 countries have been French colonies, especially in the northern area of the region. And so kind of, you can't turn your back on that all at one go. But if you've got even, I would say this even kind of pragmatically, that say you disliked and distrusted Russia, you disliked and distrusted China. Well, the thing is, you don't just have now the IMF knocking on your door, or the French or the British or the Americans then making some proposal that you more or less have to accept. You can say, no, actually, I've got a better deal with Russia and a better deal with China, so goodbye, on this particular issue. So each of them are in a much better bargaining position to get what they want for their own country. And it was notable with the leader of Burkina Faso when he had a direct one-to-one interview with Putin a few months ago, and was basically, asking, we're very much interested in getting projects for economic development. That was it. It wasn't like, any great ideological thing, just basic ABC stuff. And Africa could develop dramatically. And the problem up to now has been that, saying the transport system is always a transport from the plantation or the mine to the port, and then it goes off to Europe and America. So even kind of cross-country transport is not that great. China has done a lot to fix that with railway systems, roads and everything. And, they can do it themselves, and, all kind of other things could happen. But it's going to be a long process. But now there is a chance for them to have a choice in what they want to do, and not be bullied, essentially. And so, as I say, you could be as cynical as you like about Russia, China, or whatever, but at an absolute minimum, they're giving an alternative option rather than the single option of the IMF, the World Bank, or the European Commission coming along and saying, you will do this. And so I think that, in that respect, things are going to be very good for them. And especially if, as looks to be the case, actually, that, rather than having just, say, a mine or a plantation that, produces the grain or produces the raw materials, and the raw stuff gets sent off, and then all the premium for refining it and transforming it into the end product, all that goes to Western companies, Western countries. What I think is going to happen now is that many more of these countries are going to do their own local processing and develop their economies in that kind of respect. They have no choice. They really ought to do that, and it should have been done decades ago, but they had no possibility of getting the funding and the assistance to do it. Whereas now they do. So I'd be optimistic about the potential for Africa. It's then a question of the disastrous politics, basically. So just as you've got, a shitty, corrupt regime in Europe, you've got often shitty, corrupt regimes in many African countries, and it's only